Moving on to item number 9 on the agenda. Final reading of ordinance 1188, proposing amendments to the charter establishing the office of the city clerk, plus conforming changes, department head appointment clarification, and whistleblower designations. Over to you, Amy.
This ordinance has not changed since your first reading. It is ready to go. If you approve it tonight, I will bring back ballot language at your next meeting to put it on the ballot.
Okay. We've all discussed this at quite lengths before. If there's no other discussion for this tonight, I'll ask the city manager to read it, and then we'll discuss from there.
Ordinance number 1188, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, proposing amendments to Article 3 of the city's charter, establishing the office of city clerk and making conforming changes throughout Article 3 and Article 4 related to the duties of the city clerk, clarifying the procedure for appointment of department heads, designating all charter positions as whistleblower complaint recipients, providing that the proposed amendments shall be effective only upon the approval of referendum as specified in the ordinance.
For those of you that have not been attending meetings every other week, this one is basically kind of an important but mixed bag of tweaks for the referendum. These were done in conjunction with the Charter Review Committee, spearheaded by Mr. Corey Langford, its chairman, and Ryan Scray, its vice chairman. And what we have here is we are establishing the office of the city clerk. Currently, the city clerk is a dual hat role with the city manager. We are segregating those into basically a power tag team, but you would have a city clerk responsible for funding and policy, so a treasurer, if you will, plus administrative policies and programs, whereas the city manager will literally be leading the vast majority of the people, the day-to-day operations. So the personnel and operations on one side and the money and policy on the other. They work together. They both report to the city commission along with the city attorney. And then all three would be designated as whistleblower designees, the city attorney, the city manager, and the city clerk, that any city employee could go to and bring up an issue and receive whistleblower protections from. So, since this is a final reading, this would be for a vote. So can I get a motion for approval? Bueller.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm just trying to decipher here what we're saying.
Okay.
By approving this, does it mean that the city clerk, of which we don't have one right now, will be in charge of finances or be the same as the finance person, and that the city manager strictly will deal with people and jobs?
Well, Commissioner Tender, this goes back to the org chart that Commissioner Warwick presented.
Yeah.
Ms. Myers.
No,
But-
this charter amendment does not do that. You have that opportunity to do it when you create your job description.
Right, because in there it says additional duties as the commission
Designates.
Yes,
designates.
So,
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Sanders?
No, give me a second shout there.
So in there it says,
yeah.
we, the commission, can give the city clerk additional duties as designated, but the way it's currently written, it doesn't give them the financial responsibilities.
Okay. And who is our city clerk right now?
Right now, it's the city manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if we take him out of the equation, then who jumps into that spot?
We would make that determination because we would become the hiring authority for the city clerk. Well, it's got to go on referendum first. If it passes the referendum, then yes, we, the commission, would hire a city clerk. That city clerk would work for the commission.
Okay. All right. That makes sense to me. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
thank you, Commissioner Warwick. All right, so we are looking at the final reading of this ordinance. which would allow us to submit this to Ms. Ward for the August 18th referendum. So at this point, it is motion. We need to vote on it, correct?
I don't think there was a motion, Mayor.
Kind of motion.
Well, we need to vote, or we need to vote on it if we're going to move forward with it, submitting it to Ms. Ward. So are there any concerns or discussion among the commission before we move to vote? Any concerns?
I don't.
Nope. I guess I'll just say, there was a time when I wasn't for the clerk because back then in the career field I work in, I've seen that it works better to have the way it was presented. It was simply a basically separate of duties to basically be an auditor. And in my mind, when you have auditors work day to day with staff, it doesn't work very well. But over time, and new data was presented to me. I'm sure you all remember that meeting. Well, not all of you. There was 3 of us up here. Miss Kiki came up here and was like, "Hey, I've got this information that I need to give you." So I was like, "Okay." So I met with her either the next day or the day after that. I gathered all the information. I gave it to the public. I talked about it. And it really opened my eyes to, holy cow, I was mistaken. And, I've always tried to be open-minded and open to new information when it comes to me. And, that's what happened. And so at this point, in the type of government we have with the city where we've got 5 members of a board, it definitely makes sense to have the clerk at this point with the new information that I've gathered. And yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Peebles. Any other commissioner got questions, discussions, thoughts they want to share?
I have a lot of thoughts I want to share, but I don't know if you want me to wait until we have a motion.
No,
or
go
just-
ahead. Let's get it out before we do our motion.
All right. So first, I want to say thank you to the Charter Review Committee for making this recommendation, looking at this and making the recommendation to have establish a city clerk under the city commission. I support this recommendation for the same exact reason I brought this up on 4 separate occasions, because it strengthens the checks and balances, protects the institutional independence, and ultimately it serves the residents of Lynn Haven. And for context, this topic surfaced even before I raised it. It was actually you, Commissioner Tinder, who brought it up before me. It was during a charter discussion back in February 2021. She spoke in favor of the city clerk being a distinct role. And Commissioner Perno, you indicated you were comfortable with the city manager continuing to serve as the city clerk and supported removing the separate city clerk reference as a list of officers and departments in the charter. When I later brought this issue forward in December 2022, again, I brought it up on 4 separate occasions. Commissioner Perno, you were on the commission all 4 times I raised it. Commissioner Peebles, you were on the commission 3 of those 4 times. Commissioner Tinder, you were on the commission the first time I raised it in December 2022. And Mayor Lowry, this was before your time, so you weren't on the commission during any of those discussions. And ideally, this is a discussion or conversation I would have preferred to have a one-on-one. But as we all know, Florida Sunshine Law prevents that. And so I want to be clear. I'm not asking for an explanation tonight, and I'm not asking for a defense, and I'm not seeking a response this evening. What I'm asking for is reflection. And if anyone feels a need to provide an explanation at some other time, of course, that's certainly fine. But the purpose of my comments this evening, or that's not the purpose of my comments this evening. The purpose of my comments this evening is to strengthen how we lead going forward. This issue was raised multiple times, and during that time, the commission chose not to move forward with this structure. Now it appears the commission is prepared to support it. And that evolution matters, and understanding how and why these decisions are, how and why we arrive at these decisions matters as well. And each of us should take a moment to reflect on why this didn't advance previously and why is it acceptable now. Because that kind of reflection is necessary for accountability, leadership, and growth. You know, our actions and sometimes inactions can have real consequences. Not only do they affect city staff, but they shape how this institution functions. And they influence the expectations residents have of this body. Because a commission's willingness to exercise independent judgment or not doesn't just affect one decision, it helps define how this body governs as a whole. And when decisions like this aren't made in a timely manner, the reality is it can set the city back at least 3 to 4 years, even if that idea eventually comes back around and comes to fruition. And patterns matter. And one pattern I've observed is this. Look, disagreement is part of this job. Reasonable people can see issues differently. What concerns me is when an idea gains momentum or perceived backing, and decisions follow only once they feel safe. Once the risk has passed, the support is visible, and the outcome feels guaranteed. Leadership requires judgment before the crowd arrives. Leadership isn't about checking which way the wind blows before deciding to sail. Leadership is about setting the course because it's the right decision for the city. Waiting for certainty isn't leadership. It's permission seeking. And look, I'll be the first to acknowledge I'm not a perfect commissioner. I've had my fair share of getting things wrong up here, just like anyone else who's served up here. But what I haven't done is wait for momentum before taking a stand and being willing to accept some level of risk, because that's what leaders do. That's how leaders stay ahead of challenges and create opportunities for the city, rather than staying neutral and operating in what I call the safe zone. And just to be clear, when I refer to the safe zone, I'm talking about a political instinct to avoid risk and discomfort. It may protect the official, but it rarely protects the resident. And officials that habitually stay in the safe zone, they prioritize political survival over public service. And ultimately, you end up acting like politicians rather than leaders. That's how leaders how many times up here have we heard people, public officials on this dais say, I'm not a politician. We say it, but do we mean it? Leadership requires something different. Taking a clear position even when it's uncomfortable. And one of the reasons I'm raising this publicly is for those in our community who may have aspirations to serve in public office, so that they have a clear understanding of what leadership and independent judgment looks like once you're up here. It's not always easy. I also recognize that there are many capable people in our community that could serve in this role and do an outstanding job, and I hope more of them step forward in the future. But while we're here today, we have a responsibility to lead. Residents are depending on us to make difficult decisions even when they're not easy. And I'll be honest, I don't know whether this level of reflection will lead to change, and I hope it does. But I felt it was important to raise the question. If that reflection is genuine, I hope it guides how we approach decisions like this in the future. And I'll close with this. Steve Jobs, who most of us know was a co-founder of Apple, He took a company that was from near bankruptcy in the late 1990s to one of the most successful companies in the world. He used to tell his employees this: if you're just out to make everyone happy, don't be in a leadership position. Go out and sell ice cream. I don't take that as a call to be confrontational, but as a reminder that leadership requires making decisions that aren't easy, popular, or comfortable. So the way I see it is this issue is bigger than the city clerk position. It's about whether this commission is prepared to lead with independence and conviction, even when it's not easy. Because at some point, every elected official must decide who they are. Leaders lead, politicians sell ice cream. Do you choose leadership, or do you choose to sell ice cream? My hope is that you choose leadership.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion to accept.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I will open the floor to comments from our public. Ms. Parker, come on up.
Good evening, Commission.
Good evening.
Jamie, good job. I have to say, there are two major people that work here, higher up people, Chris Lightfoot, Jennifer Hodges. Both of them have two jobs. They should only have one apiece. What you just said, Jamie, was 100% correct. I admire what you said, and I thank you. And it should be done. City clerk position should be done, period. No ifs, ands, ors about it. It should happen. Look at what Vicki Gaynor did. Look at what Vicki Gaynor did. Look what Mayor Nelson did. Look at the crap we saw. I've lived here since 2002. I didn't come to a commission meeting, really, until after the hurricane. So thank you. You should do exactly what Jamie just said. Thank you.
Mr. Johnny Bashir.
I've got a couple things. First, on leadership. Leader acts on the available data, the best data that's available to them at the time to make their decisions. When that data changes, they have to be capable of changing their position and moving forward and leading. But you make your decisions based on the data that's available. And a leader doesn't go back to that data once it's there and admonish those that didn't act as he did or they did on the available data that was there at that time. To me, that's what leaders do. And that's all I really want to say on that. The two things that I do have questions about this, though, is one's not really a question, it's more of a statement, is that no matter how you slice and dice this, at the end of the day, this will result in more employee cost or more administration cost in the city than we currently have. That's acceptable. It's budgetable. You can do it. I have no issues with that. I just think that everybody needs to be aware. At the end of the day, this is going to cost more money, going to cost the city more money in employee expenses than we do right now. And that's neither here nor there as far as that's concerned. The second thing I wanted to mention was, Mayor, you had said that the whistleblower would be, I think, the city manager and the attorney and the city clerk. That's not what the ordinance says. The ordinance, as written, says this position shall be says a designated whistleblower complaint receipt. So possibly that's right. I just don't know where the other ones are stated at.
Point of order, city attorney. The city attorney and city manager are current whistleblowers authority, and this would be the city clerk would be the third whistleblower authority, correct?
Under your current policy, the city attorney and city manager are current whistleblower recipients. This codifies that responsibility for the city attorney and the city clerk city attorney and the city manager in the charter, it adds that duty to the description of the city
Okay,
clerk.
so it gives it, so you have three.
It's in 26, section 26K, it adds
Okay.
it.
As long as when I read it, I'm like, that makes the city clerk the only position, and
So
I didn't
you were,
like that.
you were here, you were sitting over there, but the last meeting, the Charter Review Commission chairman, he actually briefed that and said this would make all three the whistleblowers.
I understand. I just, when I read the ordinance as it's written, it this change, it just adds it. It doesn't say that there's two others. So when I read it as it was going to be the position. And if it's not, that's great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bashir. All right. Any other questions or comments tonight? If not, I appreciate y'all being such a laid back crowd tonight. We definitely want to give all the information we have to you. If you do have questions, please ask. But otherwise, if hearing no other questions or comments,
I got something.
okay.
I just want to say, Commissioner Warwick, in the future, if you want to know why I feel a certain way, just ask me. Like, I feel like you're implying that I'm not making a hard decision. A hard decision would have been voting a certain way when I didn't have 300 people the next day being the next meeting, being the mayor pro tem, come up and tell me how racist I am for 3 hours. Okay? I've made hard decisions. I take data and I change my mind based on that. In fact, you, in the last meeting, changed my mind on an ordinance because I took new data.
Yeah.
So I just request in the future, just talk with me, man.
We can't talk about this
We
one-on-one.
have a meeting right here. You can ask at any time in your commissioner's reports, at any time, at the workshops. Just talk to me. I want to be a teammate to you. I don't want this. This is, you said you
I
don't
don't
want to
want
be
it either.
confrontational. Let's talk about it.
I
Okay?
didn't
I
want
want
the-
to be a teammate with you. I want to go forward. I want to do what's best for the city with you by my side. I feel like, I don't know, there's a miscommunication or something. I've gone to bat for you in the past. Like, I want to be your teammate. So I feel like, I don't know. I'm not even mad about it. I'm just kind of like sad about it. I feel like kind of hurts a little bit.
And I get that. This is not something I take any pleasure doing. In fact, I'll be honest, I lost sleep over this, about whether to do this or not. I really debated on it. But back to your point about data, I did a whole presentation and I did a lot of research on this. And I talked about one of them.
yeah.
I talked about research before you were on the commission of all the city clerks that I've talked with, and I had it broken down by all their functions and duties on the PowerPoint slide, and I explained the different percentage of where city clerks typically fall in different types of government.
Yeah, but the data you gave me is not the data what changed my mind, is what I'm saying. It's the data I got from Kiki. So that's kind of irrelevant to what I'm saying.
Well, thank you for that. For the good of the order,
But the whole purpose of me talking about this tonight is that if it requires us doing more research, then we need to go out and more research. Let me ask you this: how many of us went out and talked to other city clerks? Because I went and I talked to every city clerk in Bay County, and then of course many different city clerks across the state. Has anybody talked to other city clerks to say, "Hey, how do you do this? Is this a good idea?" You have. Okay. Have you talked to other city clerks?
One, but my decision was based on the data I just told you.
Right. And it's our responsibility. It's not a matter whether you agree or disagree with me. It's a matter of we need to go out, do our research. And if it means we need to go out and do our research, then do it. And if you want to provide, just like we talked about the changing the election, I have my feelings on it. Your feelings might be different on that. That's okay. I don't mind the disagreement part. It just seems like we're hesitant to make decisions. I feel that this decision was due to outside influences. That's the way I feel about it. And it's not just this. There are multiple other things that I feel like it was outside influences that influenced the commission's decision.
Outside influences. Well, I'll say on record, I don't have any outside influences on this. So
for the good of the order, we have an opportunity as a team here to do something that I think we are all in agreement is good for the city organizationally and functionally moving forward. That basically segregates a very consolidated and very powerful city manager position. We have a very good city manager who's very capable. He has flat out said he would love to have a city clerk colleague to be able to handle the issues of policy, finance, that type of thing, so he can focus on the people and the operations. This will be inherently good, just like I think the 7 questions for future non-ad valorem issues for future commissions. This is an inherently good thing for the organizational structure and function of our city. So if you teammates will go with me, we have a motion and a second. We've had public commentary. City manager, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
I'm just going to stay out and vote no.
Mayor Lowry.
Yes.
He said no.
You said no? Okay, and I'm a yes. So the motion passes 4-1. All right.
I'd just like to tell, I know I voted no on a previous item, Commissioner Warwick. I know in the past, my no vote was more of a message that, hey, in the past, those were the decisions I made. I made them in the same seat that you're in as a leader, okay, as a perceived leader, because you probably don't perceive it that way, but that's your opinion, and I respect an individual's opinion, okay? To be frank, there was a time, and it was when we were doing the first referendum questions, that I asked for one of the questions to be about the clerk. And I support bringing that question to the public, because ultimately that's what we're voting on, is getting that to referendum. So the nuts and bolts of it and how it's going to be spent, those were factors in my decision not to have one, because it was presented to me that it was going to be at a great expense. Now, we've formulated a way through your diligence, which I appreciate, that it might not be that expensive. And we have a city manager who is obligatory. He's obliging to it. So there is a different set of circumstances now, not sour grapes over what happened in the past. And I'll leave it at that.
And sorry, Commissioner Warwick, if I got a little heated earlier. Just want to be, just got to say my piece, and I hope we can move forward and continue to make Lynn Haven better.